Broadcasting from our New England studio, Solutions Review is proud to showcase PCG and Infor in the Solutions Spotlight, an inside look at enterprise technologies.
I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review, and welcome to the Solutions Spotlight featuring PCG and Infor, and focused on navigating aerospace and defense business performance in 2025. Aerospace and defense companies are constantly measured on how well they perform, and given the threats on the world stage, this will be even more important in 2025. So today, we're bringing together a panel of top aerospace and defense industry experts to discuss how to harness the power of advanced A&D vertical industry solutions to perform better, be more secure, and meet regulatory requirements faster, all at a lower cost of business. Among other things, our panel today will share A&D customer success stories, trends and predictions, as well as a demonstration of Infor Cloud Aerospace and Defense. We have a lot to cover. So I will now turn this event over to the Vice President of the Aerospace and Defense Portfolio at PCG, Dan Kath, who will serve as our moderator for this panel. Dan, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate the intro. Happy to be here and spend the next hour with you guys. I spent 21 years at Infor in a leadership role running major accounts, specifically aerospace and defense. I recently joined PCG to manage and grow the existing accounts as well as new.
I'm Alex Plitsas. I'm the Industry Director for Aerospace and Defense. I team with Dan Kath for our aerospace and defense industry. I spent about the last 20 years or so, both in and out of government to tier one manufacturing firms, and then the last 10 specifically working with PCG and Infor, implementing aerospace and defense systems across the market.
Hello, I'm Edward Talerico. I'm a product director for Infor Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense. I have been with Infor since joining Bond in 1996, working with our LN and especially with our project-based customers focused on aerospace and defense. And prior to that, I was at Lockheed Martin for almost 10 years, where implementing MRP2 systems or selecting ERP systems for implementation.
Thanks, Ed. Chris Lewis?
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Lewis. I've been with Infor for about 15 years, and I have responsibility over all of Infor's discrete manufacturing verticals with a specialty in aerospace and defense. A majority of that time has been working with customers like yourselves and others who have decided to take on digital transformation projects and try to transform their business to see business-based outcomes. The remaining part of my career has actually been implementing these solutions with these customers. Happy to be here today.
Thank you, Chris. Let's move into industry trends. Alex, you have a deep background in this industry. Where are you seeing things for fiscal year 25?
It's a great question. It's really a combination of two things I think we're going to take a look at today. So it's literally what's going on in the industry itself, as you mentioned, in terms of trends in the manufacturing piece of it, but then also what are customers that we're regularly interacting with looking for? What are the challenges that they're facing? Which I think will be a nice segue into getting into the system itself, and Chris will help us with that piece. So as we talk about it, we've seen over the last couple of years some drawdown of U.S. presence across the Middle East, and obviously withdrawal from Afghanistan. But that certainly didn't end the global war on terror. We still have U.S. forces who are based in Iraq and Syria, and then obviously over the last 18 to 24 months. We've seen a number of conflicts pop up. So the Russian invasion of Ukraine, the 10/7 terrorist attack that led to the war in Gaza. And so we've seen a mass expenditure of U.S. defense systems and munitions on multiple continents, on multiple fronts, which led to a depletion of a lot of strategic stockpiles. So the Department of Defense and the U.S. government has invested fairly heavily in replenishing those. Our NATO partners and allies use a lot of those systems as well. And then other people outside of NATO will purchase, such as Israel or South Korea or others for that matter. And so we are not only seeing a return to increased defense spending, but we're seeing it increasing year over year above pre-war levels. So we have to restock the U.S. military stocks that were depleted, restock NATO allies, and then third countries who are allies who are not part of NATO. And then on top of that restocking, then meet a 3 to 5% growth increase in weapon systems. So there's a fairly significant expenditure that we are going to see over the next 5 to 10 years across the board. There is a strategic refocus on China. The U.S. has tried to do this 2 or 3 times over the last 10 to 15 years, and every time we've done it, there's been a significant incident in the Middle East that's redrawn attention. But there's a determined focus from the new administration to shift focus that way. So everything from tactical strategic weapon systems, aircraft platforms, and we're seeing significant growth in a couple of sectors, right? Obviously, drones, both air, sea, and land. We're seeing space systems, a significant increase there as well. And that's in addition to our traditional defense manufacturing base across the board, plus commercial aviation as well. And a lot of advent of new technologies, fuels, metallurgy, et cetera, to make the aircraft lighter and more fuel efficient. So really seeing broad-based growth across the entire industry, across all market segments. And so what does that translate to, right, in terms of what your system needs to be able to do for you, which is a digital representation of your business processes, right? So in our industry, right, whether it be commercial or whether it be on the defense side, contracts tend to be the primary vehicle for driving that demand. There is also sales orders that are primary means as well. And the system handles both. But when we get a lot of questions around contract optimization processes, because older systems simply don't have the same functionality that was needed to deal with some of those methods. So, I mean, as you'll see in front of you now, managing multiple contracts, including cost plus and rev rec methods, making sure it meets ASC 606 requirements there. Cost accounting standards, global trade, right? We're seeing a lot more focus on regulatory requirements. So whether that's ITAR from the Department of State, EAR from the Department of Commerce, and then also being able to leverage your contract line or CLIN definition, with the flow down. So whether it's DPAS, whether it's a DO or DX rated program, or whether it's quality clauses or the defense supplement to the federal acquisition regs, all of those things need to flow down from the beginning. Once you enter your contract, your demand vehicle, all the way through, your purchase orders and documentation afterwards. And Infor's Cloud Suite, Aerospace and Defense package is able to give you all of that. It's configurable to make sure that we can meet those needs. Same thing with managing supply chain risk. We've seen an internationalization of the supply chain. We've seen tighter controls over that for a good reason, because we've seen, the drones that came in and were striking Ukraine, even though there were sanctions in place on Iran and Russia. We're seeing chips from Western countries and technology that's ending up in those systems where they shouldn't be. So there's been an increased focus in recent years on ensuring that those export controls and qualifying vendors and suppliers is very tight. And the system serves as a means of doing that, which is fantastic. So that also accounts for any of the costing, pegging, transfers, et cetera. And so as it relates back down to supply chain risk, you also need to make sure that we can support the DPAS ratings, like we mentioned, also supporting shop floor automation, and then track project costing with pegging, et cetera. So all of that's possible. And then just-in-time manufacturing is everybody's dream. Infor helps make it a reality. Excellent. Make compliance happen, which I just touched on a few moments ago. That was more on the regulatory side. We do have cyber-related security that's become a significant concern. And so CMMC, the Cybersecurity Maturation Certificate model, is coming 2.0. We're expecting an announcement at the end of Q1 2025 with some more guidance from the federal government. In the interim, Infor has been well ahead of the curve on that. So Infor relies on AWS's Gov Cloud deployment and then also on-prem as needed. So there's a fully compliant system to be able to store and process control unclassified information in the defense space, which is fantastic. And in addition, also have MMAS compliance, so your materials management acquisition system for the Defense Contract Management Agency, DFAR, and then DCA audits. Would like to show up at the end of the year, and you need to make sure that your system is capable of receiving the inputs and generating the outputs necessary to meet those compliance requirements. Proving SRO. So as we're going in here, this is strategically an area where a lot of companies are looking at growth. So we need to make sure that we've got service really taken care of. So whether it's field service, it's in-house, it's depot level repair, and making sure that it runs the full breadth of quality, right? So it's not just simple quality. So everything from receiving inspection to the back end, and that would include your corrective action reports, non-conformance material reporting, fracas for failure reporting analysis, first article inspection, and certificates of conformity. And then also have the ability to do reference designators on the electronic side as well as part numbers. So it's got this really amazing ability to handle not only the aerospace and defense requirements, but also specifically that subset that involves aviation and electronics as well. So it really runs the gamut and gives you the ability to meet those requirements, which is fantastic. Freedom to innovate, right? So the platform is pretty configurable, because there's always the C word, right? Whether it's configurable or customized, there's not really a need to customize the system, particularly in the cloud suite. Everything is largely configurable. And in a multi-tenant environment, Infor gives you as much freedom as possible to do that without disrupting base code, which is fantastic, because it also means that when you extend the system or you integrate with third-party applications, provided they meet any security regulations required to integrate with the Gov Cloud, they don't break. So when you upgrade the system or when they push your updates every month and you do your testing, it's not like the old days where you did it on-prem, you fell behind, and all of a sudden your system's 55 years old and nothing works when you try to do a technical upgrade. The cloud has really revolutionized the industry, and Infor has done a fantastic job not only building the product, but also partnering with Amazon Web Services to ensure that there's a compliant cloud that gives you the flexibility that's necessary while also restricting access to U.S. persons as needed by regulatory requirements. And solutions that solve, right? So what you'll see up in front of you, so for those of you who are not familiar with the industry, you'll see a bunch of acronyms there, particularly on the compliance side. That's just the nature of working with the Department of Defense. But we'll start at the top there with customer challenges. This is really common, what we see across the industry. Everybody's looking to reduce lead times, right? Fixed price contracts are becoming more of a thing. The government really doesn't like the protests and the overruns and everything that's happening. Increased spending, internationalization and export controls, all that needs to be solved for. Supply chain challenge to mention, so visibility and transparency. Make sure you can do vendor scorecard ratings and scoring them accordingly. Complex configurations need to be handled. Global supply chain management, contract flowdowns and quality. And then as we move down to compliance, we mentioned some of it. So whether it's FAA certifications, your International Traffic and Arms Control Regulation, ITAR. We just went through TCAA, MMAS, and DFAR, right? Your DD-250s, SF-1443s, talk about contract financing, right? And then as we go through there, we also have quality, our NIST, and then EAR, as we mentioned. And then finally, some of the technology challenges, right? Application fragmentation. The really good thing about Infor is there's a fully natively integrated cloud suite that's got all the product offerings that you would need as part of the core system, to include a PLM tool that's now available as well, which is fantastic. So you get everything start to finish that you need to be able to run your business start to finish. And that just becomes a question of making sure it's configured correctly for your business, but the application itself offers the functionality that's needed to meet those demands. And then, slow adaptation and finally new workforce demands. As we are all getting older up here into middle upper management, the folks who are coming in are younger, expecting up-to-date technology and used to working with it. And so the latest and greatest solutions are not only part of that next generation push into the industry, but also really required to help meet the demand. For example, one of our clients in the 155 millimeter artillery shell supply chain was part of that 12x increase that was required by the Department of Defense, given the expenditures of munition systems in Ukraine and Israel and other places. And so they were able to use Infor's Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense to significantly expand production capacity without having to make significant investments in infrastructure that would eventually become obsolete as we move to Industry 4 and 5.0 and move there towards things like expeditionary printing. So Infor has this unique ability to really help businesses expand their current production capacity capabilities, giving you more opportunity to sell, make you more profitable, but without making those significant investments in many cases in the infrastructure. So that's another significant challenge that helps us.
Ed, do you care to comment on the certification that a customer could request with respect to compliance and audit?
Yes. Infor has invested significantly to assist our defense customers in the U.S. by providing a solution that is deployed in the AWS Gov Cloud, and we have actually hired a third-party company to do the audit and attestation of our solution that leads to the FedRAMP certification that allows the solutions that they deploy from Infor to be CMMC compliant out of the box to save on their audit needs and assist them in the challenges to meet the NIST controls and move forward with CMMC2. It is a capability that is now required for all DoD contractors, and we're very proud to say that we've been doing this now since 2018.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. Back to you, Alex.
Appreciate it. So I think that gives us a general overview of what we're seeing in terms of trends and spending, systems expenditures. Commercial aviation, we didn't touch on as much, but there's been a significant push for more fuel-efficient platforms. Again, metallurgy is changing, and new platforms are coming online. We just saw the first supersonic jet to hit since the Concorde. So there's a lot of movement, as well as the our space systems. So some amazing clients that we've had that have done 3D printed rockets to new satellite systems, et cetera. So the market is continuing to evolve and change. Systems are getting older and out of date, and there's new regulatory and compliance requirements and complexity that's being levied upon them by the industry or by the government. And we just kind of highlighted all that. So knowing that that's what's coming, knowing that these are common problems. So if you're out there saying, "Hey, I resemble that remark. That's my company or my business that's facing those same challenges," you're not crazy and you're not alone. We're seeing it across the board when we go visit folks. The good thing is that the solution can handle and address those. So I think it's a great segue in here over here to our product demo and really giving you an opportunity to see what that looks like in the system.
As we begin the presentation, Infor has designed our solutions to meet the industry-specific last mile capability requirements to ensure that our customers are able to deploy the software in a vanilla fashion, meaning no need to customize or modify the software to meet those industry-specific capabilities, which we'll highlight here in a moment. So Infor focuses on very specific industries and develops that functionality in the core of the solution to meet those requirements. And to highlight some of those requirements, you'll see as we build the slide out here, these are capabilities that the Infor solution has specifically designed to support above and beyond all the traditional manufacturing ERP capabilities. So, of course, the system's able to handle inventory and purchasing and finance and production, etc. But these are examples of the unique capabilities we built into the Infor Aerospace and Defense platform to ensure that we're able to meet those business requirements. And we've categorized them on their ability to meet the compliancy standards around DFARS, MMAS, and some aerospace functionality. So some of the things you'll see in the demonstration is a true government contracting module built straight into the core. No longer are the days having to use a sales order and modify the software to get it to follow this compliancy requirements of managing a government contract. We do that directly in the software. So things like overhead cost pools, waterfall, overhead allocation and application, government forms like the DD-250, earned value, fees and penalties, contract flow downs with DPAS. All of this type of capability is built directly into the core of the software. And then as it relates to the production side, we have a capability that supports compliance around MMAS. So the ability to drive efficiencies by commingling demand, but also being able to manage the costing behind the scenes appropriately, and being able to have an easy way to audit the system to show we have fair and unbiased algorithms as it relates to how that data is moved. Things like borrow, loan, and payback, costing breaks, and project planning in groups and clusters is all functionality that our defense contractors, from a manufacturing perspective, find immensely valuable. On the aerospace side, again, not specifically only for aerospace, again, all native capability, things like trade compliancy, denied party screening, the ability to manage licenses, all standard functionality. A lot of detailed quality management capability around first article inspection, certificate of conformity, fracas, corrective actions, etc. So all of these capabilities just represent a quick snapshot of the functionality that's delivered in the core that makes the Infor Cloud Suite for Aerospace and Defense unique. Above and beyond that, we have built in the business processes to support the government contracting, especially for defense-based manufacturers. So you'll see that these are, again, above and beyond business processes. Of course, order to cash, procure to pay, record to report, right? Design to release, all that functionality is in the system. So this is additive to what makes Cloud Suite for Aerospace Defense unique. The entire estimation process, from the bidding and proposal process, a built-in PLM or product lifecycle management solution is built into the software as well. Procurement functionality, export control, ITAR, project billing, contract management, government contracting, materials, facility management, as an example. These are all the additive functionality that we've built upon the core ERP to make it unique to aerospace and defense. Another area I'd like to highlight, we talked about quality management, but the project management functionality of the software is extraordinarily strong. The ability to have PMP or PMI-based project management models delivered directly into the software, as well as the appropriate accounting for long-term government contracts and projects. And it's not just the business functionality that makes the solution unique. It is the ability for us to comply with the cybersecurity requirements. So things like NIST, excuse me, 800-53, right? SP 800-171, FedRAMP moderate and high, DFAR, as we just discussed, ITAR, CMMC Level 2. These are all capabilities that we deliver in our solution, right? So the Infor solution is deployed in the Gov Cloud to meet those cybersecurity requirements. Now, today's presentation is not going to focus a lot more on the cybersecurity requirements. It's going to be more focused on live software, business capabilities, some of which I just highlighted. So with that being said, let's actually dive directly into the software. Now, when someone signs into the software, we have role-based security. This role-based security provides access to those areas of the application this particular individual should have access to. So it's very simple to roll out the software because we have those predefined roles in security access. In fact, we deliver it through what's known as the authorization management and security module. Now, when someone signs into the software, the first thing that they're going to see is a dashboard or landing page. This is going to be specific to their role. This is an example of one of many that are in the software. This is focused around the project management side of the house as an example. And it has KPIs, it has metrics, it has reports, and it's the system proactively providing information to you as a user so that you can take action on and deliver on those capability requirements as necessary. So things like looking at the projects that you're working on, the margin performance, the project progress, as well as alerts and tasks that are occurring in the system so that you do not have to go digging through the software to find out if there is something that needs to happen or take action on. In fact, Infor solution is deep and rich with capability around reporting. So we have a business intelligence tool as part of our solution, right? There is a data lake that is deployed with our solution, right? All of which is standard. And the reporting KPIs metrics are all available to you. And in fact, if we just look at the domain of project management, we'll come back to later on, you'll see dozens and dozens of reporting capabilities that are looking at project performance, earned value, SPI, CPI trending, all of that. The goal is to spend less time in the transactional system and have more of your time looking at data analysis and reporting, because that's where we make decisions from. We don't make decisions from grids and rows of data. We take data, we aggregate that up, put context to it, then it becomes information, and that's how we make decisions. Okay. So let's drill down a little bit deeper, and we'll start looking at some of the capabilities of the software. So if we start here, we'll look at, let's take one of the most common screens that you'll see in the software. And this is what's known as the Customer 360. And I'm going to do a little bit of layout format for you. The Customer 360 is a viewpoint. It's a one screen that provides you access to everything topical about the screen you're in. So I called this the Customer 360. That means you are able to see everything associated with that customer, right? Simply highlight the record and the screen starts to populate. KPIs, reports, everything lights up. And if there's a check mark, we've got a navigational pane to go to the data. A couple of other things to point out from a navigation standpoint. Each one of these boxes over here represents more related information. So whether you're looking at documents that are associated with this record, right? You're looking at communication and collaboration associated around this record. If you're looking at look for things like your inbox, this is going to be all of your tasks, all of your alerts, much like we saw on your landing page, they're available to you here, all of which that are actionable and the ability to drill down and drill through. And we'll talk more about that as we continue to move forward. Now, a couple of things I want to highlight from a business process perspective, right? Number one is you notice on the pre-sale side, I highlighted that earlier in the demonstration that we have the capability to manage the bid and proposal process. So here, whether you're looking at all of your opportunities, all of your quotes, all of your bids, simple and easy access to that. So let's take a look at the estimates. We have a full-blown estimation functionality in the software. In fact, let's take a quick drill down into the estimate lines. And here, as you're going through the solicitation process, you're building out the proposal, you have the ability to have an estimation program directly built into the software. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use your own estimation tools, which most likely you have today, but this also has integration to those other tools. Well, the great thing about using this capability is you're no longer using Excel spreadsheets, right? You're actually using the master data of the system. So here you'll see I'm doing an estimate for this particular program, whether I'm estimating top down, bottom up, what level of detail I'd like to estimate at, what cost type, is I'm estimating labor, equipment, materials, and what aggregation or what level of that detail. Here you start to see all of the master data being pulled into the system, right? Things like quantities and date of incurring cost, and what is your cost price? What is your sales price? How are you marking this up, right? Do you want to include overhead here? And here you can see your costs versus your sales to get a very good understanding of the estimation capability of the process. In fact, one of the great things about the estimation process is you can either pull in budgets from other programs. You can copy in actuals from previous programs into this as a starting point. You can create templates and even prepare and launch the bid. The great thing about this also is when you finalize the process of estimation, you can then launch the estimate to become the baseline budget for your project. So very quick highlight of just some of the base capabilities around estimation. Right? If we move forward, let's pretend now that we've gone through the process, we've won the award. Let's navigate to the contract itself. So if I go into the contract module, here we launch. Now let's do a quick type. There we go. And here you can see my contracting module. Now, this is that same type of view that you saw from the customer. Now I'm looking at through the lens of that customer, but all the contracts in case I filtered on one contract here. So I think my contract amounts, my budget amounts, my margin. But again, each one of these areas highlights an area, different data sets that I can go through. Now, in a much longer demo, we'll get really into the weeds and show you all the great things it has. But let's take a look at the contract. I want to highlight a couple more of those things that you just saw on the PowerPoint slide. So we drill into the contract header. This is all your terms and conditions, like what program it's tied to. Are you the main contractor or the subcontractor? Each of these tabs is going to have different data elements on it. I want to spend less time in the header and more time in the actual contract line or CLINs. Now you'll notice it's very different than a sales order. You'll see here I've got contract types. Now each CLIN, for demonstration purposes, has a different contract type, whether that's cost reimbursement, fixed price, and time and materials. We drill into a CLIN line, that's where we start to see a lot of the data. Okay? So here you'll see, okay, my CLIN line, who are we customer, who are we shipping to, who's my contracting officer, contracting manager, right? It's tied to a project. We project manage here in the software. So the CLIN line, really the way our software works is the contract is the financial and administrative relationship, where the project's actually the functional execution of that, meaning the manufacturing, procurement, et cetera. Financials focus on, again, the currencies, the financial part, but hang tight as we get further into invoicing. We'll highlight that. On the selling tab, there's a couple of really good things to point out here as well. Number one is our built-in standard functionality to recognize revenue according to ASC 606 or IFRS 15. So performance obligation-based revenue recognition is built in the software. Funding is built in the software, right? Akron accounting, fees and penalties is also available to you here. On the shipping side, we start looking at like whether we're going to need a DD-250, and if we have to do inspection, source or destination, that's available to you here. Invoicing, integration to wide area workflow, and how the separation of billing versus revenue recognition is going to be set up. When are we billing? How are we doing that? Is it monthly? Are we aggregating it up? Do we have an advance that we need to liquidate against? Do we have holdback? Again, this is all we're setting that master data. Progress payment requests, again, functionality, but I also want to highlight the area for contract flowdowns. So this functionality, again, as part of your implementation, we go add to this list, but this gives you all the capability to be able to put anything associated with a flowdown. And what that is, this is business functionality that allows it to flow down into procurement and other parts of the software. So for example, if we go in and start filling out what DFAR clauses are this CLIN's contractually held to, those will then flow into things like procurement and other areas of the software to drive that business functionality. It does it automatically. Okay. Now, if we take a look at the next level of what's known now as the deliverables, this is what we're physically or what we're performance obligated against. That's a better way of saying it. So if you notice here, we're selling defense simulators. You'll see that the status of where we're at against a schedule. But when it comes to deliverables, we have three different types of deliverables. One's hardware, right? Physical goods. Non-hardware is like training, software, installation, any other type thing that's not a physical asset. And then maintenance would be anything around SLAs, warranties, performance obligations for repair, anything you want to include that would invoke our entire service and MRO module to turn on. But if we drill into the deliverable, this is the actual, what are we delivering? And that deliverable would be an item, right? You'll see it's flagged for trade compliance. This invokes the trade compliance module that I highlighted earlier, whether that's going to be, do we have a license? Are we allowed to sell to deny party screening? And there's a whole function, country of origin, traceability, all that type of functionality resides there. Also, when it's delivered, when the due date is there a schedule, the pricing, the selling information is where the data is coming from. Project is actually the linkage from the deliverable line back to the project management module. And again, the trade compliancy module, things like, do you need an end user statement or what's that license? So again, this deliverable is actually what drives the demand in the software. This is what MRP is going to look at to drive demand. Okay. So that, in a very, very high level, is the contract management functionality. Let's look at the project management side, right? And this is where we do the execution. I think this will make sense here in a moment. So here's my project linked to this, right? Now, in fact, I have multiple projects linked to this contract, as you could imagine. You'll see here things like, again, this dashboard is giving your project manager view of all the functionality that's available to them. So things like, earned value, your budget, your cost, your variance of completion. And we'll talk more about reporting in here in just a moment. One of the first things we may want to look at is what's the work breakdown structure look like. Right? Here you can see, again, rudimentary work breakdown structure with work packages, planning packages, milestones, installments. What's the budget? Is that budget's been released? What's the work authorization status? Meaning, can we physically charge against these? Percentage of complete, your schedule. In fact, we offer a scheduling capability in the software as well. Now, again, that doesn't mean if you're using a Microsoft project or another project manager scheduling tool, that's no problem whatsoever. Just because we have it doesn't mean you have to use it. So you'll notice there is external interface. We do a bidirectional integration to outside project planning and scheduling tools. So again, the ERP become the master record with all the costing and the financials, and the project managers can still use Microsoft projects, et cetera, if needed. This project module, again, this demo alone is usually about 2 hours. I'm going to do it in about 5 minutes. But you'll see here, like my scope of my projects. Do I have extensions or scope changes tied back to the contract? How do my budgets look? Then it comes to functionality as it relates to the rest of the ERP system. Of course, I'm going to have purchase orders, right? I'm going to have warehousing, inventory transfer. In fact, if I want to look at inventory, this is where you can see all the inventory. Now we have full-blown project pegging in the software. We have cost peg transfers, which moves the cost between programs. We've got all the MMAS requirements around. You have excess inventory, but there's rules that say you can't transfer that, and that it's hard pegged to this particular project. Or can you, right? So this gives you a view of all that inventory, tells you what's been blocked, what's allocated, what's excess, and if it's excess, is available to transfer. So enormous amount of traceability here in the system. Again, with one click, you can look at all your non-conformances, your corrective action plans, or maybe you want to look at all production activities. These are all the production activities that are going on. These are production orders. In fact, if I take a look at one of these production orders here, let's just open it up. And here you can see the details of the production order, right? Again, what's your operations, what's your materials, right? And again, if you want to look at detailed manufacturing capability, we can show you that. One of the interesting things that I wanted to show here, this is actually what we call a commingled production order. So meaning there's demand coming from multiple different CLINs, multiple different projects, but for the same item. So the system was smart enough based on the delivery dates to commingle, right? You'll notice I've got now 4 items being delivered as part of this activity on project 33. I got one for project 34 and another one for a different CLIN line on project 33. So it's taking all that demand, commingling it all up, but having the background financial accounting and government cost accounting all taken care of for you behind the back, versus in other systems, this would be 3 separate production orders. Another great view within project management is just simply that ability to understand everything that's going on. So click on cost transactions. This shows you every transaction that's occurred, where it came from, the who, what, when, where, and why. So whether I've got a material issued to work package 20, an extension arm came from production order, issue, there's no loss of transaction. I really haven't spent a lot of time on the drill downs and drill backs, But if we take a look here, if we highlight anything and you go original document, show me the production order, right? Show me the purchase order, show me the cost pay transfer, show me any transaction. So we don't look at it from a modular perspective. All of this functionality is intertwined into one system for full visibility capability. You also see, for example, on your cost type, your overhead transactions. Again, not enough time to get into the details here, but we have the cost pools, we have the levels of the layers, we have the waterfall effect to make sure that we're following the overhead cost allocation process appropriately as to government terms. Now, again, this was a highlight of a ton of functionality in a very short amount of time to give you a flavor that this is an ERP system designed for aerospace and defense organizations, right? I've highlighted on some of the manufacturing capabilities, but we have plenty of customers who are non-manufacturers who are using this capability as well. They just simply don't turn on their production functionality. But I've mentioned a lot about reporting and analysis. If I change our view, all of our transactions are being published out into our data lake. That data lake is then going out to take that data, aggregate it, and then give you insights into the system. So looking at, for example, my contracts. Again, I've got some filters turned on here to separate my data. There's tons of ways that you can interact with this data, but you can see here I've got profit, expected profit, planned versus expected, revenues versus cost, overdue bills, funded versus invoice. So we're easily aggregating this data so you can have insight into this. In this case, we're looking contractual, more financial information. Let's change the view, and maybe we want to take a look at some reporting specific to project management, right? So this is, again, like I mentioned, the execution side. Now my data is a little wonky here, but things like what's my earned value? What's my CPI and SPI trend? My activity performance, milestone performance. In fact, if we start drilling in, let's maybe look at this report. Here I'm looking at my projects performance, blow out the work breakdown structure. So show me things like my budgets versus my actual cost, my earned values, my cost variance, my schedule variance, right? CPI and SPI trending. Very, very easy. Hyperlinks that drill you back to all source transactions, source data. So Infor knows that people want to be able to analyze and slice and dice data, and we deliver all of this out of the box. In fact, everything that you've seen is all standard, commercially off the shelf software. Nothing's been mocked up. This is a demo environment. This is simply the software with dummy data loaded into it. The last thing I wanted to highlight is really on the business process side. Infor delivers, I talked about those end-to-end business processes as part of the cloud suite, but we've also documented them for you. So what I mean by that, if I click on contract to deliver, for an example, we've documented every single business process in the software. So if you wanted to learn or frankly have someone audit the business process associated with how do you create a contract, how do you cleanse, how do you create deliverables, by clicking into this box, here you'll actually see the design of the software. And this is what we mean by our customers are able to use the software out of the box, vanilla, because we right up front document the standardized business practices against hundreds of customers who implement this, maybe thousands, that show you exactly how the software is designed. So here you'll see create and review the header. What type of contract is it? Time and material, cost plus, fixed price. You follow the path. Do we have DPAS? Right? Do we need to use DPAS? Do we have flow downs? Do we have quality and compliance? How do we set up financials? In fact, if we click on any of these, in fact, you'll see here, if I click on manage contract deliverables, this will take you to the sub-process associated with that particular. So you've got level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. The whole ERP system's been documented. And the cool thing about this is if you highlight any of these boxes, like for example, create the deliverable for the service item, right? If you notice here, when you click it, it shows you or tells you what the software is doing, but a simple click of the hyperlink takes you to the actual part of the software where you do the work. So that business process is not just a diagram, it's actually a visual representation of the business process tied back to the actual core ERP. So with that being said, I appreciate your time. I hope this demonstration was relatively enjoyable. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our teams, and we're happy to go to any level of depth. We have an extraordinarily strong solution for aerospace and defense, and we look forward to continued conversations with you.
Ed Talerico, over to you for customer testimonials.
Thank you, Dan. Infor has a large number of aerospace and defense clients that utilize our cloud suite. One of the customers that we've had probably for over 20 years now is Elbit Systems, based out of Israel, but has a very large footprint here in the U.S. They've been running various versions of BON and LN for years, and they moved to the latest version on-prem in Israel a few years ago. And now the defense organization here in the U.S. is moving to Infor Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense, deployed in the GovCloud or in Infor Government Systems, as we like to refer to it. Mikhail Kohavi, the CIO of Elbit, would say that our solution provided capabilities that were unlike any of the others that she saw in competitor solutions, as well as being able to be deployed in a much more flexible and fast nature. They will be able to deploy the solution out of the box of Infor Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense here in the U.S. without little or no customizations, and the capabilities that they'll be utilizing provide them with a certified solution that we hope will be able to be used by many other U.S. defense contractors here as well. This next customer, AVEX, is very indicative of what we're seeing today in aerospace and defense. There's so many companies out there that are mid-sized companies in the supply chain that are dealing with defense avionics and electronics that need a new solution to deal with today's marketplace, as well as being compliant, certified, and operating on supported software. AVEX is a solution in partnership with PCG that Infor deployed our GovCloud solution, Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense, and implemented it with our product lifecycle management solution in 6 months. Now, that is a relatively unheard of time frame for an A&D company, but PCG is capable of doing this with a footprint and an overall scale that allows them to do this for companies of this size and even larger companies. What we find is this achievement through teamwork is going to be very popular because there are so many companies out there today that need this type of solution. The DoD is requiring them to implement a certified and compliant solution. And quite honestly, it allows them to get a technical uplift and eliminate any technical debt immediately by implementing our cloud suite. Dan, would you like to add anything else about this customer that has been so successful for PCG?
I would just say time to value. It's all about time to value for them. They were on an outdated system. They needed to upgrade for a number of reasons. They chose Infor and PCG to do that, lift to the cloud. It happened on time, on budget. I should say under budget, on time, under budget, in less than 6 months. That's remarkable. So congrats to the team at AVEX and to PCG and Infor on this win.
Yeah, Dan, if I could just to pick up on that as well.
Please.
I think with the system offer too, I mean, Dan spoke overall the company and their needs, which is fantastic. And there's a couple other nuances here. AVEX is at the cutting edge of the market for loitering munitions drones that they're building in rapid fashion, and they need to be able to configure those, build them, and deliver them in a very short period of time to meet the needs of their government customers. And the system has given them the flexibility that they needed to do that while also scaling. They went from a very small company to substantial growth given how fantastic their products are. And that's always a concern for people that are growing is if you implement a big, heavy system, what's that going to do to me? Is it going to slow me down? Is it going to limit my flexibility? And particularly when you're niche in the market is your ability to respond quickly to urgent operational need statements or joint urgent operational need statements. That could really, shut your business down if it's not done well. So Infor is given, the regulatory requirements, the ability to process through the system, as well as the flexibility to meet those configuration changes in short order, build, ship, get it out the door, and defend rights of individuals worldwide. And it's just really proud to see how well AVEX is doing in their growth patterns.
Alex, would you care to comment on Night Vision and the division that's moving forward? What some of the business challenges they had and why they chose Cloud Suite A&D?
Yeah, no, it's another great question. Elbit's another fantastic company. It's Elbit USA, a subsidiary, wholly owned separately of their Israeli headquarters, and they build some amazing night vision optics and devices. There is some complexity in building night vision in terms of how you build the optics themselves and the harnesses and the cables that are inside that hold sort of everything together, and the tubes that you're really looking through. And it requires very, very fine manufacturing, very detailed level. A lot of it is handwork as well. And if there are mistakes that are made in putting that together, it actually affects the grade of the night vision itself and whether or not the system can be used and export controlled as well. So the system is required for a whole host of reasons in their particular case, right? It's the flexibility and on the manufacturing side, not only the serialization and quality control that's necessary, but the ability to interchange what essentially becomes subassemblies coming in and out. You go through one phase of a manufacturing process, you grade it, take a look at it, and does it have to move to a different system? There are not many systems that give you that level of flexibility to move parts back and forth between that, multiple work orders and things of that nature. So the system is really, again, the flexibility and adaptivity in addition to all of the regulatory compliance, supply chain, project management, financial controls that companies like Elbit are seeking. So it actually helps them grow their business and doesn't inhibit them and shut them down. And unfortunately, there are a lot of other folks in the market whose products, don't offer that level of flexibility, and the rigidity of it, slows them down. So once again, a fantastic partnership. I know that you've got a relationship going back with Elbit a long ways, and that means a lot. And so a combination, I think, of the customer service, the relationship, and the product offering has made this a habitual relationship that's really helped grow and succeed. And once again, having been on the receiving end of fire at nighttime and using night vision systems, we always like to say in uniform, right? We own the night. Our differentiator between us and our adversaries in many cases, our ability to operate at nighttime. And so this is once again another critical defense supply chain piece here in terms of night vision systems that sets the U.S. and our allies apart from our adversaries. And once again, being built on Infor software.
Yeah, I'd also say one last thing on Elbit with respect to the night vision division that's moving forward. They're also on a 15-year-old ERP platform that's heavily customized, inability to upgrade. And that was also one of the driving forces in terms of the new project, a CMMC compliant solution that they could upgrade with. So yeah, hats off to Elbit. Looking forward to that one.
One of the things that I always love to hear about are the cool products that our A&D customers make. It's always
100%, Ed. 100%.
Cloud Suite Aerospace and Defense has a very robust roadmap that will be delivering capabilities in a very predictable sequence over monthly and every 6-month releases in our cloud solution so that you never have to upgrade. Currently, our solution is providing capabilities to hundreds of aerospace and defense companies around the world. What I'm about to show you are the capabilities that we will be adding and delivering in April and next October, as well as a review of some of the things that we just delivered in the release that was put out in October. What I'll be covering, first of all, is our user experience, where we have invested heavily recently to give a more modern, easier to use user experience. We always develop and deliver additional industry-specific solutions for our A&D customers to enhance the capabilities that we have, as well as to offer new capabilities like I'll be talking to you about with PLM and our Planner Plus product. I'll also talk to you about what we're doing in the area of connectivity and our REST API framework to make integration easier for you, because we understand at Infor that everything you use doesn't come from Infor and you need to integrate with outside solutions. And last of all, I would be delinquent if I wasn't speaking to you about where we're headed with tools like generative AI, robotics process automation, and what we refer to as our Value Plus solutions. You can see that we've done a lot of work to deliver what we refer to as workspaces, or a home page where everything's on one page, so you don't have to search through menu structures or be able to go through multiple sessions to get the information that you need. We also have 360 views for things like the project, the item, a bill of material that allows you to be able to consolidate and easily navigate through the various inquiries and updates responsible for that module or that area of action. And lastly, I want to talk to you about how we've altered our operational screens so they have a very modern look and feel, much flatter, less complicated, the screens are much less full, or they're spaced out in a manner that provides an easy to use comprehensive solution. The persona-driven workspaces, an area where I'd personally been involved in the areas for aerospace and defense, were developed to provide a homepage that allows you to see key metrics as well as reports, graphs, actions to be performed, and any other thing because they're configurable with widgets that we offer from a library of capabilities. It allows one-click navigation from one place. Anybody that's used an ERP system can tell you it's easy to get lost in the multitude of sessions that are available because of all the capabilities that are out there. With these workspaces, we try to put that for a specific role for a specific industry. And we've been able to deliver a number of these. The one that I'm most proud of is the Program Manager Workspace for Aerospace and Defense, or project-driven customers. It provides graphs on the project actuals versus the budget, as well as cash flow with key performance indicators around non-conformances, engineering change orders, delayed shipments, as well as other capabilities that you can configure into the workspace so that a program manager has everything he needs for all of the projects that he or she manages for his program. That capability allows you to get information much more quickly and be able to act on it in a very quick manner so that you don't have to search through the ERP system and hopefully not be able to put information into spreadsheets to be able to calculate values and determine if something needs to be done, that we can provide it to you in a very descriptive manner. You can see here, this is the Program Manager Workspace that you can see it's primarily graphic. All of these widgets have drill down so you can get to the source of the information in the ERP system or to some of the analytics that we provide with our business intelligence tooling. And all of this comes straight out of the box. You can configure it, but you don't have to build it. I've also created a workspace for project accountants. We know that these people have a thankless job to keep track of everything that needs to be done for the cost of a project, to be able to maintain the overheads, to be able to calculate the overheads, do simulations, and then be able to take action on all those anomalies that need to be corrected. This workspace provides them with one space to come to in the morning and address their needs so that they don't have to run around the factory, find people, or be able to go through multiple sessions to be able to calculate and be able to determine what actions need to be taken next. So persona-based workspaces add value by maximizing the business value by combining the power of RPA and AI into your workspaces. In the right panel of our workspaces, we will also be adding widgets for generative AI, and I'll be showing some of these that we've done already around contract management and project management, which have become very successful, accepted in the field to be able to do expert analysis of your projects or contracts. Here's an example of a new area we are looking at right now, which we refer to as executive workspaces. This is for the manager of the program managers to be able to go out and monitor programs against targets that they set in the system, so that you can then manage the budget, the calculations of the KPIs for on-time delivery, cash flow for the budget versus actual, contractual changes, and a number of other areas. And like I said, in the right panel, they can then do what-if analysis with generative AI tools or with RPA tools to go out and find out the cause or the root cause of problems so that they can be taken care of proactively. These will be coming available in the April release and coming up very soon. And we're very proud to say that this type of technology will be used across all of our industries for various roles. Now, here is the look and feel of our new operational screens. For anybody that's been familiar with LN or BON in the past, you'll see that this is a tremendous improvement. I always like to say our user interface now resembles modern applications like the new Outlook or project management tooling that comes from other vendors out there, and the way that they do it. You can see it's a much whiter, flatter, less color, less crowded screen that allows you to focus on those capabilities, and it has a lot more graphical tooling within it. Within these widgets, you can drill down, and it provides you with a graphical look and feel rather than just looking at spreadsheet-like addresses within our work screens. This will be done throughout the LN solution and across all of the applications in the cloud suite. And we're proud to say that this is going very well and being very well received by our customers today. Also, you'll see that the new user interface provides improved supply chain views. And the reason I mention this is the work that we're doing with our Planner Plus project. This is groundbreaking activity where all of this is included now within the ERP solution rather than an exterior advanced planning solution. So now we'll talk about those industry-specific solutions. And the first one I want to talk about is our Planner Plus project. I am very, very pleased and excited about this development. What we'll be providing is a new module right within our cloud suite that is integrated utilizing our REST API framework that takes the results of the enterprise plan and then optimizes it for resource and material constraints. Now, anybody that has experience with an APS solution will tell you that the largest challenge is integrating that to ERP. Because first of all, there's differences in the nomenclature, the structures, etc., but also the downloading of the information required for an APS solution to make it usable and to make it effective is a tremendous amount of data, takes a great deal of time. And then after you run the APS solution, you have to upload that back to the ERP solution. We've eliminated all of the complexity of that integration, being able to just extract directly from the data model and operate our APS solution with simulations and graphical tools to review the supply chain and be able to review production, make additional changes and run an additional simulation in memory, and then be able to decide when you want to commit that to the ERP system. And I think this is groundbreaking technology that will be very well received. The scope of this solution, like I said, is around a supply chain planning finite engine for material and resource constraints. But one of the things that we're exploring right now and we're looking to do is to use this tooling for DPAS prioritization as one of the algorithms in the tool that'll have many. And the output will be a plan that shows the lateness or the prioritization that needs to be done in the ERP system to achieve the goals, in this case, of the Defense Priority Allocation System, or to eliminate the tardiness of material constraints, which we all know can be very difficult to manage in the complex supply chains of defense manufacturing, simply because of the complexity of the products. You can see here's a flow chart of what goes on in the tool. Like I was saying, you can take the master data from LN, it reads it directly. You can run a simulation of the APS thing without committing it to the ERP solution and examining that with advanced tooling. And then once you confirm it to the solution, it'll update the dates of the orders within the ERP solution, move some orders around, and schedule them so you can achieve optimal efficiency. The real beauty of this solution is that, as I mentioned, we have a brand new interface, and Gideon, our product manager, has taken advantage of all of those capabilities and some new ones to present new tooling for analysis of the supply chain and the plan for the production activities to be able to view those constraints or bottlenecks and determine what changes you would like to make. Very often we find that customers find anomalies in their bills of material with lead times that they didn't expect, and this provides them a fast and easy mechanism to analyze those anomalies, make the changes, and run a simulation again very quickly. I believe that this tool will be very well received in the A&D community and for all of our Cloud Suite customers, especially in project-based industries, because that has added another level of complexity to those customers that wanted to use APS solutions in the past. One of the capabilities that we've added to our Cloud Suite is our product lifecycle management solution for discrete. Many people that are familiar or have implemented a PLM solution know that that can be as large as an ERP product. Now, with AVEX, we just showed you where they implemented PLM and ERP together in 6 months. And that's because our PLM solution is not an integrated separate solution, but rather a module of the ERP solution that uses all the same nomenclature, utilizes all the same concepts, It is integrated completely into the solution. And what we find is that customers are asking for new and better capabilities to analyze things using this PLM solution. For us, doing an impact analysis of an engineering change order becomes very easy because it's a module of the ERP solution. Incorporating engineering change orders and determining if quality will create an engineering change order has become very easy now because of its close degree of integration. And lastly, this solution is being integrated or being able to be used with all the modern CAD solutions for both mechanical and electrical components. And we find that customers are finding this to be a very useful component of their ERP implementation, even if they already use another PLM solution in the exterior, just to bring the data in here and provide these capabilities that I just mentioned are providing a great amount of value, and customers are finding it to be very useful. So lastly, I just wanted to talk about, what we're looking at. We want to provide much more than a transactional backbone. We want to be able to provide a solution that allows you to run in an optimal fashion where we proactively monitor and help you to improve your enterprise. And we understand that your system needs to be open, needs to integrate with outside solutions as well as outside to your supply chain. And in Infor, we're very happy to provide those capabilities. And then last of all, we want to provide business intelligence tooling through the workspaces with capabilities that allow you to measure and monitor your performance to do better in the enterprise. And lastly, we want to know how your employees are interacting with our solution. That's why we want to improve the user interface. We want them to be excited about using our solution and ultimately being able to say that they use our solution to improve the enterprise performance, not just because they have to. Thank you, and the roadmap will only continue to increase going forward.
Excellent stuff, Ed. Thank you so much. It's great to know that Infor is strongly supporting and spending significant money on aerospace and defense as a vertical. So appreciate the update on the roadmap and more to come on that. Team, is there any final comments you'd like to make before we depart?
Yeah, I just learned this morning there's been a large press release, and I think that everyone that might question our investment into our solutions, we're hiring 1,000 new developers, okay? And we're going to put them to work with our cloud suites. We're going to put them to work on advanced new technologies, and that shows that Infor is not standing still. We're not holding on to only what we have, that we want to move forward with new technologies and capabilities to provide our customers with better solutions going forward.
That's great, Ed. I didn't know that. That's awesome news. Folks, if you want more information, my contact information is enclosed. Feel free to reach out anytime. Again, team, any final comments? Alex, Chris?
Yeah, I think just one. I mean, for me and for Chris, who's also been in the industry, and Ed and Dan, it's yourself, over the last 24 months, I had a chance to meet the people that built the MRAP that I wrote in Iraq, the people that had built the jammers, weapon systems, night vision, communication devices, everything that kept me safe on a battlefield. So, this is not just a job in the tech sector. This is important. What we do matters collectively as a team between us in the implementation side, our partners on the development, the technology side, writing code, and our customers who are our partners in making sure that they're successful in making sure our warfighters are safe and that we have what we need to, keep the country and our allies safe. So it's personal to us and it means something. So if you need something, if you have a question, just, anything at all, just about what you saw today, please reach out to Dan. As he mentioned, his contact info is there, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Doug, back to you.
Well, I think you're hitting all the right notes that certainly our audience is looking for. I mean, you've got efficiency, compliance, security. I mean, it's a more complex world than ever before. I think it's only going to get more complicated. And I think what we're seeing is that it's only going to need to get more efficient. And that's a fine line you have to walk in order to remain compliant and secure. We would certainly encourage everybody to go to pcgservices.com to learn more about how PCG can help you with an Infor implementation. Obviously, Infor.com for anything that you want to learn more about with regard to their aerospace and defense solutions. This has been great. Dan, appreciate it. A lot of information. Very much appreciated that we got through all that, and look forward to the next time that we can all share a panel together.
Excellent. We look forward to it as well. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. Another solution in our spotlight. We want to thank PCG and Infor and the entire panel for their participation, and we appreciate your attendance as well. Until next time, I'm Doug Atkinson here at Solutions Review. Thanks for watching.
If your business would like to be featured in a future event, contact us today.